Okay, so for my coaching reflection, I have decided to talk about the individual doing the front squat. First things first, safety among all else. I'll be telling the individual to strip back the weight and obviously train with either a barbell, a training bar, or a PVC pipe until we nail the actual technique. So the individual himself clearly is trying to learn the movement on his own. As a coach, there are quite a few things that we can work on with fundamental movement. So range of motion being one of them. Key coaching points that I would give for the front squat is to obviously make sure that we have the eccentric and decentric range of motion. Make sure that we can air squat to start off with. If the individual cannot perform a full depth air squat, then we will not be moving on to the front squat. If they can do a air squat, we'll advance to a PVC pipe. We will work on our elbow position, ensuring that our elbows are nice and high in line with our delts and the bar is resting across our delts. With that in mind as well, if the individual does struggle with a front rack, we can move over to the cross arm position that he is using in the video. However, it's a lot more beneficial to try and get their athletes to be using the front rack position first. Key point for this would be elbows high, but also reminding the client to keep their chest up. Now, by chest up, we do not mean rib cage up, because if we are lifting our rib cage up, we are disengaging our core. So we need to keep rib cage down, chest up. Look nice and proud. I normally like to use the cue gorilla pose. Like, be nice and proud, get those elbows up, be the proudest person in the gym. Ensure that we have a nice straight back, good posture. And before we initiate the squat, we are going to make sure that we have our core nice and tight. So that is another cue that we will give our athletes. So elbows up, core tight. I then like to use a little cue about maybe disengaging. So disengage at the hip. So stick your bum back a little bit just before we start squat. And then we need to remind our athletes that we are squatting down. So we want our bum to go backwards and our knees to track our toes. Those are the two cues that I do like to use. Once our athletes hit full depth in their squat, just give them a nice cue up and make sure that they are pushing through their sole of their heel, pushing through the heel up into the lock out position at the top. So hips fully extended at the top, fully locked out, elbows nice and high. As I say, if our athlete does struggle and is adamant that they want to do a front squat, we can do a front squat to a box or even to a med ball or a sandbag or something like that. But safety is paramount, especially with movements like this. We don't want the backgrounding of having a thoracic injury, for example. We need to make sure that posterior chain's activated. And yeah, make sure that we have a good balance between glute and quad for our squat. So we're making sure that we're using all the correct